Hello and welcome back to the Charity Shop Chat podcast with myself, Charlotte Greenwood. Unfortunately, Mimi couldn't be with us for this episode as she's full on working. As we all know, there is no downtime in charity retail, so I'm afraid you're stuck with little old me. As always, this podcast is powered by the Charity Retail Consultancy, helping charities build retail that's commercially strong, people-led and fit for the future. And through Charity Retail Learning in partnership with CRA, we're giving teams the tools to deliver that every day. Now, today's guest is someone who has completely redefined what it means to be a charity shop regular. Because let's be honest, she isn't just browsing rails, she's curating culture. She's a woman serving up styling, storytelling and serious second-hand inspiration to a growing audience who can now see charity shops very differently because of her. Equal parts thrifter, stylist and storyteller, she has this incredible ability to walk into a shop and not just see what's there, but see what it could be. An outfit, a moment, a whole new identity. And then crucially, she shows the rest of us how to see it too. And she doesn't just keep that magic on Instagram. You might have spotted her bringing charity shop fashion to the mainstream on This Morning, proving that Pre-Loved isn't just a nice idea. It's stylish, accessible and absolutely worth paying attention to. She's also an ambassador for the air ambulance service, so alongside the fashion and a wicker basket or two, there's real purpose behind what she does, championing charity retail not just as a place to shop, but as something that genuinely matters. Now, we also need to talk about the vibe, because this guest brings a very specific energy to charity shopping. Think great finds, great styling, and quite possibly a Cinzano in hand somewhere along the way, with a bit of cooking and a dating update thrown in for good measure. It's fashion, it's fun, it's a little bit chaotic in the best possible way, and it's completely infectious. She's showing people that charity shops aren't dusty or dated. They're full of potential, personality, and pieces that deserve a second life if you know where to look. And that's exactly what we're getting into today. Because this guest isn't just influencing what people buy, she's influencing how they shop, how long they stay, what they notice, and ultimately what they spend. So whether you work in charity retail, love a good thrift, or just want to understand how to make shops feel more exciting and more relevant, you're going to love this episode. Now, today's episode is a really excited one, and actually it ended up being too good to fit into just one episode, so we've split it into two parts. So let's give a very big Charity Shop Chat welcome to the one and only Jen Graham, better known as Charity Shop Girl.
Hi. That
Welcome,
literally
Jen.
just nearly made me cry, all those things you were saying about me. I could feel like myself going. That was so lovely. That was such a lovely introduction.
It's
Thank you.
all true, all true. You know, you've definitely brought Pre-Loved into mainstream, and that shouldn't go unnoticed. And we love a good intro on the podcast. We feel like it's that
That was
this
like
is
the
your
best
life
intro
moment.
ever. I might put that on my dating app bio, actually.
That is fine. You do that. Let's get yourself a man through the podcast. That was the whole aim. So let's start with an easy one then. For anyone who hasn't come across you before, can you tell us a bit about how you went from Jen Graham to Charity Shop Girl?
Well, I have actually charity shopped for a very long time. I'm 40 now and I've charity shopped since I was 17, but it actually went way before then because my dad used to take me to this, sounds like I had a terrible childhood, but I went to the scrapyard he used to take me to.
Oh, brilliant.
And he said, I loved it. I loved having a rummage. I would come out with the most random things and I would rather go there than a main toy shop. So I think I've always been a rummager at heart, but probably when I was about 17, I started going out, 18. I just didn't want to wear the same stuff that everyone else wore. And I knew that I could find it secondhand. I could find more different things. So I ventured into charity shopping, but it wasn't until 2020, I think, was that COVID. I got made redundant during COVID from Land Rover. And it was my daughter who said, why don't you start doing TikToks and showing what you buy from the charity shops? And it just kind of went from there, really. I just ended up really spinning and removing the stigma of what charity shopping was. You know, the amount of people that message me on a daily basis and say, I've never stepped foot in a charity shop until you. I would never have gone in one, but you've opened my eyes.
Oh, brilliant.
Is a huge Huge
Yeah.
achievement.
Yeah, I bet. I bet your daughter's like, now you can pay me my
Yeah.
commission.
She loves it now. She loves charity shopping as well. And her and my son have helped me edit my videos, told me to do trends and stuff like that, trends and audios and stuff. They've been such a support for me, which is amazing.
Oh, that's
And
good. And
obviously I get like
yeah.
mega cool points now because I'm on social media.
Just not on social media. You're on TV, you're on podcasts, you're everywhere. You're
Yeah, they
blowing
love
up.
it.
It's brilliant. I know if Mimi was here, she would say about how important Gen Z and the younger generation
Yeah.
is important to kind of, you're never too old to learn, are you?
No.
To teach everyone how to use social media and be an influencer, a micro-influencer, or just someone who just enjoys putting their videos out there.
Yeah, and I think the thing is you've got to move with the times, haven't you? And that's where everything is now, you know what I mean? No one posts leaflets anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I still do get leaflets, but they go straight in the bin.
Exactly, you don't
So
read it.
people do. I'm very influenced by social media. You know, if I'm going to buy something, I will go on TikTok or social media and look at a review from someone to get an idea of, am I going to buy that? That's where I get most of my inspiration for buying stuff. So
Yeah.
social media is definitely the place to be now.
Yeah, absolutely. So at what point did you realise that your content was influencing how people shop, not just what they buy?
I think it was when charities were asking me to come into their shops.
Yeah.
I think they were realising that the footfall was going up, that people were, seeing things differently. Different people were coming in. They weren't still seeing the regulars, but new faces were coming in. And then I think it was when the Air Ambulance asked me to be an ambassador, and I thought, and I had like about 700 followers when they asked me to be an ambassador. So they obviously just saw that
The
I was,
potential, yeah.
and I was being like a voice.
Yeah.
And that kind of just escalated things for me then, really, because I do think that sometimes the charity sector maybe didn't understand what I was about. Is she just this influencer who just wants to be famous, or you know what I mean? And that isn't the case at all. I am solely here for charity retail. That is my beating heart. It's not even so much about sustainability as much as it's about, I know that £5 spent in an air ambulance charity shop puts cannulas on an air ambulance. I know that £15 spent in a Mighton Hospice charity shop in Warwickshire pays for a patient's meals all day, breakfast, lunch and dinner. It's the impact, So I think that when the charity retail sector saw that it was about, I'm here for them.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
yours.
authentic.
Yeah. I belong to the sector, share my videos, use me when I'm in there, and I think that's when I realised that there was this connection with the sector, and the sector have been incredible. Like I love that they recognise me when I go in, because people say, "Oh, are you famous now? Do you get recognised?" Only in charity shops, but I love that because I belong to the sector, So when they get excited that I'm coming in, or someone will message me and say, "My mum volunteers so and so, and she absolutely loves you," it's really lovely that I have that relationship with the sector, because I'm here to help make them more money and put them on the map. And where I live in Sandbach, I'm obviously from Liverpool, but I've lived in Sandbach 16 years now. They're so supportive. I have such a good relationship with every charity shop in Sandbach, and I give them a shout out. And my favourite charity shop is in Sandbach as well. I don't like to say that I've got a favourite, but I have got a favourite.
Which one is it?
St. Luke's.
Oh, lovely.
And I've got others who are very close,
Yeah.
but St. Luke's in Sandbach, I never come out of there empty-handed. If I need
Brilliant.
something specific,
Yeah.
I know that I will get it from there. Their prices are amazing. The quality of the stuff that they put out is amazing.
Nice.
It's just my favourite.
Nice little shout out there for St. Luke's Hospice in Sandbach then. So when you walk into a charity shop then, if we're talking about kind of buyer behaviour, what's the first things that shape your decision on whether you stay and browse, or if you kind of turn it back around and walk out?
I just don't judge them like that. I'm going in there. The first thing I probably see is what charity it is from the outside. I'll think, oh, okay, and I know so much about each individual charity now that I have that little moment to myself. And then I just go in and browse. I don't judge anything when I go in a charity shop. I mean, I do prefer a rummagier one than a heavily merchandised.
That's
I do.
interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because there are two camps.
Yeah.
And I think I remember you doing a poll on your stories actually about
Do
people prefer
Yeah.
a rummage, or do you like really neat and tidy and clean visual merchandising?
More people love the rummage.
Yeah, I know.
They do.
And I did have to show that to my exec team and
Yeah.
my trustees and be like, see, people
Yeah.
love a traditional charity shop. They love a rummage. They love the thrill of the hunt,
Yeah.
don't they?
That's the whole joy of it, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why when people say to me, do you not miss going and buying something new? I don't get any excitement out of it. I do buy things new. I've never said I 100% shop in charity shops. But yeah, and shoes, I often buy trainers new. But, you know, my daughter shops on the high street sometimes. And if I go in there with it, I just don't get that excitement because I'm like, no, there's like 15 pairs of the same jeans, 15 of the same tops. I love coming out and going, no one is going to have that on. And that's why the rummaginess is everything to me. And I always say to people, I've got people who say, oh, I don't like a charity shop. And I go, I'm going to ask you a question. Oh, do you like a TK Maxx? And they go, I love a TK Maxx. And I go, well, then you're a charity shopper because it's that rummage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that word, rummaginess.
Yeah,
we love
my favourite word, rummage.
And that is nice to hear that you do look at the shop name above the door.
And that's something I talk about a lot. And, you know, that charity retail should really lean into that, having those very small messages around their shops that says £5 puts cannulas on an air ambulance. And if someone at the till, you know, spends 20 quid and a volunteer says, do you know that 20 quid would pay for a therapy session for a sibling going through bereavement, would have a counselling session. That impact is huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the message I'm constantly trying to get out there is what you're doing for these charities. Because I always get like, oh, charities are expensive now. Oh, but
it's frustrating,
it's
isn't
so
it?
frustrating
Yeah.
because they don't realise that they still pay rent, that they, when we use these services for free, where do you think that money is coming from?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It does drive me mad, but I do love having those conversations because I love sticking up for the charity sector and I love having those answers for the people who are like so lost with what they think is happening.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to have people like you because those misconceptions are rife.
Yeah,
people think we don't pay rent for the shops or we get it for free, as if landlords are going to throw away profit.
And also another thing, this is quite a difficult subject. The comments about CEOs that I get, that CEOs are on an absolute fortune. I did a post about that because that is probably one of my biggest things. But I think that what people don't know is that a CEO, we're paying for that skills to look after that charity, which may have 100 shops, which has budgets, which has, maybe has 100, maybe that's extreme, 50 air ambulances out there. We're paying for this man or woman's skills and they're managing a charity, and that is probably my biggest thing. But again, which is why I want the sector to know that I'm not just here to show you hauls and show you what I buy. I'm showing you why I'm buying it, but I'm also removing those big stigmas and having the answers because I've done the research. I do research about the charity sector.
And I totally agree with CEOs and anyone in the charity retail and their salaries. We wish that people could get paid more, but we're always very conscious that we're trying to raise funds for such important causes. But we do have to pay people what they're worth.
Yeah,
we want to do that for people, don't we?
Yeah.
But also the skill set needed to manage a charity is so wide. You have to put on so many hats. You're looking after charity shops, fundraising, marketing.
Yeah.
If you're a hospice, you're looking after the clinical side of things, which has so much governance and safeguarding and safety. Air ambulance, I'm sure they've got ridiculous health and safety procedures and protocols in place.
They're like targets are outrageous. When I think of like to go up once in an air ambulance on one mission is £3,800 or something like that. And sometimes they could go up 5-6 times in a day. And I think people just don't understand where does that money come from. And again, people will comment and say, well, why aren't we paying volunteers? But volunteers, volunteer for a reason.
Yes.
There's normally a reason why somebody chooses to volunteer. And it's not about the pay. It's about they want to help the charity. Maybe they've lost someone and they want to get themselves out the house. It's a social thing.
Yeah.
Maybe they've been out of work and they want to put something on their CV. So they want just a little bit of like
Yeah, absolutely.
experience to get. And again, it's just opening up that whole question of it is so much more than what you are you're thinking, like just so basic about a situation that has so many answers, and it is frustrating. But I have been using my social media platform recently for a lot more educational things than just being about the hauls.
Yeah. And that's the thing with volunteers. When it's Volunteers Week, which is that's actually coming up not too long away in June, I think it is. If you put on any kind of event or thank you event for volunteers, like a tea party or whatever it might be, they're always like, oh, no, don't spend money on us. That's not what we volunteer for. They don't want to be paid. They don't want money spent on them because they want the charity to be spending it on their own good causes.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's such selfless people. They're incredible. So what's the moment where someone goes from browsing to actually buying? Do you think there is a tipping point on where you can put them over to the buy-in side of things to get more money for charities?
I think that comes from pricing.
Yeah.
I think personally, I think first impressions are everything. If someone walks in, and I have walked into some charity shops, picked up something and thought, wow, that's a lot. And that's not me saying that charity shouldn't be getting that money. I just think that is a lot. Like it could just be and also it could be a very basic item. I do also understand that because there's so many different volunteers and there's no like structure really, people, they don't know. They don't, because things can go amiss, can't they? Like I've picked up a pair of Doc Marten boots for £2. I got trolled really bad for it, actually, saying that, oh, you should have spent more money. And, you know, the volunteer obviously hasn't realised. I mean, I did spend another 40 quid while I was in there, so it didn't matter. But, you know, but me leaving with that £2 Doc Martens and saying to 10 people, they were £2, is so much bigger than me coming out of there and saying to someone, oh, I went in there and they had like a Zara jacket in there, and there's a shop in Knutsford and they charged like 40 quid for a blazer. That to me is just insane, because it won't have even been that in the sale. Do you know what I mean? It probably won't have even been that full price. I think if your prices are really reasonable, not too low, because I don't think you should be charging pennies because you've got bills to pay. But I don't think it should be outrageous.
Yeah.
I think if someone walks in and picks stuff up and goes, these prices are so good, that encourages me to buy, definitely.
And it encourages you to come back as
well.
It
does, 100%.
You get that
and you
thrill
tell
of
people,
finding a bargain.
I'm talking about St. Luke's, their prices, they're consistent, they're well within reason of what they would be. I think that sometimes someone might research how much it would have been brand new, but you should really be researching how much it is on eBay and Vinted. How much is it going secondhand, and then knock a couple of pounds off, because you do want people to come back.
Yeah. And it's a stock turn as well, isn't it? If you've priced it too high, it's going to sit on your shop floor for ages. Whereas, there is a decline in the quality of donations, but we're not donation poor. There's quantity flooding shops, isn't there? So you want to get it out on the shop floor and get it sold as quickly as possible, and pricing is key to that.
And I think things like, the shop places we do not like to mention, like Shein, all those type of fast fashion things, they should be selling for that. Get them out, you know what I mean? Get them gone off your shop floor for people to, they are a one-way thing.
Yes. Yeah.
So, get them gone so that, then they can come back and then be resold or whatever else. But things like that shouldn't be being charged anywhere over £5, I think, because they're just rubbish, aren't they?
Okay, so you show a lot of styling and outfit building on your Instagram. How important is that in helping customers see the value?
I think what I like to think of myself is I don't want people to copy my style. I want them to be inspired by creating your own style. Like, I wear what I love. I don't care if anybody else doesn't like it or they don't get it, or, and I want people to really lean into that. And that's what is going to encourage them to go out into the charity shops, because you're not wanting to copy someone's style. You want to see an item and think, that is so me. I love that, and then you put it on and you think, this is so me. I feel great. I feel, so I think by me showing people the most random things that I pick up, that I love shoulder pads, the most bizarre things, and people will go, I would never have picked that
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
I would never have put that with that. I wore that 30 years ago. It's changing people's mindset of saying, yes, it might be an older brand. Yes, it might be a brand that maybe you would never have worn, but think about what you can do with it.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest tips I ever picked up from you was not to ignore the men's section.
Yeah, I've got a men's blazer
Yeah,
on today.
yeah, it's
I actually
specifically
even wear
men's
men's
blazers.
jeans
Yeah,
because I think that what I like, I don't like tights, don't wear a lot of tight stuff. And I also feel that women's sizing sometimes can be really
oh
inconsistent
yeah,
and it
definitely.
can mess with your
Yeah,
like mental health. It
yeah,
can mess with your mental health if you're like a 10 in one shop and a 14 in another shop,
yeah,
and then you try something on and you can't button a size 10, but
yeah.
you're a size 10 in the other
When you
shop.
get
Do you know?
stuck in it in
Yeah,
the changing
yeah.
rooms and you get the sweat on, you're like, oh my God, I'm
So
not getting this off.
inconsistent. And our bodies are all so different. Men's stuff is that the sizing is consistent. Like
Yeah,
I'm probably a size 10. I buy 32 waist trousers. They sit perfectly on me. The length is great. The quality is great.
yeah.
I feel great in it. I think if you're conscious of if you like a longer sleeve, sometimes women's sleeves are shorter. Sometimes they dart them at the back, and I just feel so much more comfortable.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And that's the thing, as a plus size girl, I find it a little bit more difficult to find my sizes in
Yeah,
charity shops. I'd love to buy pre-loved a lot more. And that's the one thing I'd love charity shops to do a little bit better, I think, is to have kind of a section for that plus size. So it's
yeah.
easier for me to find that because I would love to have it. But interesting, I was talking to some shops, charity shops in Wales, and they said because everyone's on Ozempic,
Oh,
they're getting an
that
increase
is,
in plus size
I could
clothing
imagine. Yeah.
donations.
There's a real gap in the market for someone to make some really good plus size,
Yeah,
beautiful clothing, because I feel like a
absolutely.
lot of it's like novelty stuff and
Mhm.
it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
And
they just
it's,
it feels like they want you to hide your body.
yeah,
So then it's just shapeless and ugly and in really boring patterns.
exactly.
We want to dress like everyone else, just in our
And
size.
that's why I think there's a severe lack of it in
Yeah.
the charity shops, is because when you go from where it starts, there isn't a lot of choice anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's where the problem is.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, because representation is important,
Yeah.
because you want to cater for everyone. And I know when I used to have our shops at the hospice, I used to make sure we had a plus size mannequin in the shop.
Yeah.
So whenever you do have any plus size, you can put it on the mannequin. But even then, the mannequins that were available for plus size, they were all 6-footers. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm 5'3".
Yeah. Yeah.
That's, just because you're plus size doesn't also mean you're
Yeah.
taller.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it is just crazy. But you're right, it's got to start at the beginning.
Yeah, I just don't
Those
think
who
there is much
produce the
choice out
shops.
there anyway,
Yeah,
really.
yeah. But yeah, thank you, those who are on the jabs. I'm getting more plus size clothes in the charity
That
shops for
makes
me
so
too.
much sense as well,
Isn't it
honestly. Yeah,
isn't it
I
funny?
wouldn't even thought
So
about that.
interesting. But then the flip side, they said, well, we get slightly less customers now because they're all losing weight.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm fine. I'll be in there. I'll buy it. I'll come to Wales. Okay, so what do you think charity shops could do better in terms of visual merchandising?
I'm not a big follower of trends. I don't follow trends. I never have done. I think the word trends is a big part of why there's so many clothes going to landfill and stuff, because we're
Yeah.
constantly being told that's not on trends.
Yeah.
That's not cool anymore. Or that's so last season. So don't talk about that. But I feel like charities could lean into that a little bit more, as in, if a boot cut leg jean is out, focus more on that. If they looked at more trends, is leopard print really big at the minute? Because that's what's going to bring in the younger audience, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
It's about, we want to appeal to the younger audience as a sector,
Yeah.
but they're going to the high street because they think it's on the trends.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They want to
yeah.
follow the trends. So I
Yeah.
think that the sector could maybe do a little bit more about focusing on those things just to attract that other audience.
Yeah, yeah.
But I will say about the sector, like, it's come a long way.
Yeah,
Very, and it's
hugely.
in a very, very quickly. Like, some of these shops are like boutiques now. Do you know what I mean? Where
Oh,
you
yeah,
walk in
yeah.
and you think, is this a charity shop? I don't know, is it? It's gorgeous. You know what I mean? East Cheshire Hospice have just opened one in Knutsford not long ago. I helped them open it, and it's a beautiful shop. Beautiful. And the way they merchandise is beautiful. It's still got that rummagey feel,
Mhm.
but they have like a little designer section. They've got a vintage section. They've got,
Nice.
and they really, the lady who does the merchandising in there is just on another level. She's amazing.
Brilliant.
And I think what it does is it makes you walk in and go, wow. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, but it's still got that rummaginess.
Yeah, nice. Best of both worlds, isn't it? What's your view on things like colour blocking, outfit grouping, or I think you've said theme displays, but there's always a massive debate on colour blocking, particularly. What's your view on that?
I don't want that. But that's my personal preference. The only thing I definitely like is sizing.
Yeah.
And having said that, I rummage the whole rail. That's one of my top tips. I don't just stop when it's not my size. I keep going because sometimes vintage things, we don't know what size it is.
Yeah,
Or,
good point.
I wear a lot of different sizes, and like I say, sizes are inconsistent, but I don't like colour blocking because I think it's easy. That is easier for someone who's not a charity shopper, or they're just new charity shoppers, because it's easy for that. They're not so overwhelming. But I would rather it be in like tops, trousers,
Yeah.
jumpers, because I feel like that makes you be a little bit more adventurous.
Yeah.
Because you won't just go towards the colours that you would always wear.
Yeah.
You might find something and go, really love that. I wouldn't normally wear that colour, but it's still keeping it in tops, trousers, jumpers, jackets, but
Yeah.
I'm not a colour block fan.
No, I think I think it looks nice.
Yeah.
Actually, from the practical shopping, purchasing point of view, I think it limits purchases.
Yeah. Because
I think
people
you're
will only
right.
go for their colour then, you see,
Yeah.
and then avoid the other stuff.
Yeah.
And I do that when I go into a shop that's
Yeah.
colour blocks. I'll think, I don't really wear pink and purple,
Yeah,
so I'll
exactly.
just
So just bypass
avoid.
it.
Yeah, but there
Yeah.
could be the most perfect top in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Recently, I wore an olive green colour. I've never worn anything olive green. The amount of comments going, that is so your colour. That is
Oh,
gorgeous.
nice.
That suits you. And it did. And I felt great in it. And when I
Yeah.
look back, I think that is my colour. I never would have done that. It's about that adventure of
Yeah.
feeling like it's not done for you.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point of rummaging, isn't it?
Yeah. Honestly, we could keep talking about this all day, but we're going to have to pause things there because there is so much more to get into with Jen, and we really didn't want to rush it. In part one, we've really started to unpack how people shop in charity retail, and already there's really so much in there that shops can take away and start thinking about differently. But in part two, we go even deeper. We're talking about visibility, social media, TV platforms like This Morning, and what it really takes to make charity retail feel relevant, exciting, and impossible to ignore. Plus, we've got our quick fire round coming up, which you won't want to miss. So make sure you're following the podcast, and we'll see you in part two. Bye.